deep in the heart of the humid rainforest, where the sunlight filters through tall green canopies and the air hums with the songs of life. A family of monkeys leaped from branch to branch, their laughter echoing through the jungle. The youngest of them, a curious brown-furred monkey named Kiki, was known for wandering too far in search of fruits and shiny stones. That morning, as dew glistened on the leaves, Kiki followed the scent of ripe bananas toward a quiet, shaded patch near a fallen log. What she didn't know was that a massive python, scales glimmering like wet bronze, had been coiled beneath the same log, waiting patiently for hours. When Kiki reached out for fruit, the python struck like lightning. In one swift movement, it wrapped its thick, muscular body around the monkey, tightening its grip with deadly force. The forest fell silent, and the only sound were Kiki's desperate squeals and the slow, sinister hiss of the python. The jungle erupted in chaos as Kiki's family shrieked from the treetops. The alpha male, with his black mane and powerful build, bared his teeth, calling for help in a language of fear and urgency. Birds scattered and smaller creatures froze, sensing danger in the air. In a nearby clearing, a team of wildlife rangers was conducting a survey on deforestation impacts. Their leader, Officer Rahul, a tall man with sharp eyes and a steady voice, instantly recognized the alarm calls. He signaled his team to follow, their boots crunching on the damp forest floor as they moved swiftly toward sound. Each second counted. The python's grip could crush bones within minutes. As they neared the clearing, one ranger raised binoculars and gasped. Through the leaves, they saw the python's coils tightening around Kiki, her small limbs struggling weakly. "Move!" Rahul commanded, his voice slicing through the noise. The team sprinted toward the scene, their hearts pounding in sync with the monkey's fading cries. When they reached the site, the python sensed new movement and began to drag its prey toward the undergrowth. The rescuers quickly formed a semicircle, careful not to startle the serpent further. Officer Rahul gestured to his second-in-command, Mira, to prepare the tranquilizer gun. "One wrong move, and we'll lose her," he whispered. Mira nodded, loading the dart and steadying her aim. The python's body was massive, nearly 4 meters long, with scales shimmering in patterns that blended into the jungle floor. The team could see the outline of Kiki's trembling body under the crushing pressure. Just as Mira fired, the python flinched, and the dart grazed its tail instead of striking true. The serpent recoiled, furious, and raised its head high, hissing loudly. Its yellow eyes glowed with primal rage as it turned toward the rescuers. They froze. Any step forward could provoke an attack. Kiki whimpered softly, her cries weakening. The jungle seemed to hold its breath.
No
Rahul
sudden
quickly
moves.
signaled everyone to hold their ground. "No sudden moves," he said quietly. He knew that fear could cause mistakes, and mistakes meant death. He began to speak softly to his team, assigning each person a role. 2 rescuers would distract the python with sound from the left, while Mira reloaded another tranquilizer dart on the right. The python, sensing vibrations, flicked its tongue, its attention divided. Rahul took a deep breath and threw a stick to one side, making the serpent turn its head just enough for Mira to have a clear shot. "Now!" he shouted. Mira fired. This time, the dart hit the python's neck perfectly. The snake hissed violently, its coils loosening slightly as the sedative began to take effect. The team waited for the moment its strength started to fade before rushing forward. Every second felt like an eternity. The jungle, once loud with life, was now silent, as if even nature watched this battle between death and mercy unfold. The rescuers moved swiftly, using poles to uncoil the python's body. Its scales felt like cold metal under their gloved hands. As they pulled one thick loop away, they revealed Kiki's frail body, limp but still breathing faintly. Her chest rose and fell weakly, proof that she was still alive. Rahul knelt beside her, his expression softening. "Stay with us, little one," he murmured. Mira handed him a blanket, and he gently wrapped the trembling monkey inside. But just as relief began to spread through the team, the python suddenly twitched. The sedative hadn't fully taken hold yet. Its tail whipped violently, striking one rescuer's leg and knocking him to the ground. "Back! Back!" Rahul yelled. Mira fired a second dart, this time ensuring the creature's full paralysis. After a tense few seconds, the python's movement ceased entirely. The danger had passed. Rahul exhaled, wiping the sweat from his brow. They had saved the monkey, but the fight for her life was far from over. The team rushed Kiki to their field vehicle parked nearby. Mira cradled her gently as Rahul drove through the uneven dirt path toward the rescue center. The forest seemed endless, every bump threatening to shake the fragile monkey. They wrapped her in warm towels, applied antiseptic to her bruised limbs, and checked her breathing constantly. "She's losing consciousness," one of the medics shouted. Rahul pressed the accelerator harder, his heart pounding. Memories of other failed rescues flashed in his mind. Animals that hadn't made it because they were found too late. "Not this one," he muttered fiercely. When they finally reached the wildlife care center, the veterinarians were already waiting, alerted via radio. The team rushed inside as the doors swung open, lights flooding the room. The vets immediately began CPR on the tiny monkey, administering oxygen through a small mask. For the next hour, the line between life and death blurred as the rescuers watched in tense silence. Just as despair began to settle in, Kiki's chest suddenly rose, a small, trembling breath. Then another. Her tiny hand twitched. The room erupted in cheers, relief washing over everyone like a wave. Myra's eyes welled with tears as she whispered, "She's a fighter." Rahul smiled, the weight of the jungle lifting from his shoulders. The veterinarians continued their care through the night, cleaning her wounds and ensuring her stability. By morning, Kiki sat up weakly in her blanket, her big brown eyes filled with confusion, but also curiosity. When Rahul approached the cage, she reached out a tiny hand and touched his finger, a silent thank you. Outside, the jungle came alive again with the sound of morning calls and rustling leaves. It was as if nature itself celebrated the victory of life over death, compassion over cruelty. A week later, Kiki was strong enough to return to her troop. The team accompanied her to the same forest where the attack had occurred. When they released her, her family rushed to greet her, surrounding her with joyful chatter. Rahul and his team watched quietly, pride glimmering in their eyes. The python, too, had survived and was relocated to a safer, uninhabited part of the forest, because the heroes believed that even predators had a place in the balance of nature. As the sun dipped behind the trees, Mira looked up and said softly, "Every life matters, no matter how small." Rahul nodded, his voice calm and resolute. "That's why we do this, not for glory but for life." The jungle echoed with the sounds of harmony once again, and the story of Kiki's rescue became a symbol of bravery, compassion, and hope, reminding everyone that sometimes true heroism lies not in power, but in the courage to protect the helpless. When the first light of dawn spread across the canopy, the jungle looked reborn, as if every leaf and creature celebrated a second chance. Mist floated above the trees like a soft blanket, wrapping the forest in silence broken only by bird calls. The rescue team stood near the observation hut, exhausted yet content, watching the gentle rise of the sun through the leaves. Kiki, the once fragile monkey, now sat upright in her enclosure, her small hands clutching a half-eaten banana. The soft golden light made her for a shimmer, and her bright brown eyes reflected the quiet joy of survival. Rahul leaned against the railing, taking in the peaceful scene with a deep breath. Every scar, every bruise, every drop of sweat had been worth it. Mira approached him, handing a steaming cup of coffee, her face glowing with relief. "She's stronger than we thought," she said softly. "She made it through the night." Rahul nodded slowly, eyes never leaving the little survivor. "Because she wanted to live," he replied, his voice low but firm. Behind them, the forest whispered, the rustle of leaves, the distant cry of a hornbill, and the hum of life that never stopped. The team had faced many rescues before. Elephants trapped in mud pits, deer wounded by poachers, leopards injured on highways. But this one felt different, maybe because it wasn't just about saving an animal. It was about protecting something innocent from the merciless grasp of nature's unpredictability. The jungle, vast and untamed, had always been both a giver and a taker of life. And in that eternal balance, they had managed to tip the scale, if only slightly, toward mercy. 3 days later, the rescue center's courtyard buzzed with quiet excitement. Kiki had fully recovered, her movements lively and curious once again. She played with the corners of her blanket, occasionally glancing at Rahul as if she knew it was time to go home. The Rangers loaded the jeep, securing the small cage gently in the back. The journey to her release site felt longer this time, partly because no one wanted the moment to end. The forest welcomed them with open arms, sunlight streaming through branches in streaks of gold and green. Birds followed the sound of the vehicle, and monkeys chattered high above, sensing the return of one of their own. When they reached the familiar clearing, Rahul stepped out first, scanning the treetops. It was here, under the same canopy, where fear had once ruled and a battle for life had been fought. Now it would be a place of reunion. Mira opened the cage door slowly. For a few seconds, Kiki hesitated, sniffing the air, listening to the forest sounds she knew so well. Then, with a burst of courage, she leaped out, landing gracefully on a nearby tree trunk. Instantly, her family appeared, calling out in joyous cries. They surrounded her, touching her gently, welcoming her back. Kiki turned once, meeting Rahul's gaze from afar. It was a fleeting look, but it spoke volumes: gratitude, recognition, and freedom. Mira's eyes shimmered as she whispered, "She remembers." Rahul smiled faintly, watching the family disappear into the green ocean of leaves. "Good," he said quietly. "She should remember, but she should never look back." The jungle roared to life again, as if applauding the reunion. For the rescuers, this was a moment that made everything worth it, a silent farewell to the little soul they had fought so hard to save.